All right, how's it going, everybody? It is the Awesemo.com NHL DFS Strategy Show, and we have an 8-game slate to talk about. We'll review last night. It is a Tuesday. Good contests, and Nolan Kelly joining me. What's up, Nolan?
What's going on?
The usual, man. Just grinding through these
Just
slates.
cash, just counting all your Dakota Mermis money or what?
Yeah, it is Mermis night. So we're hearing it's Grizzly night. I'm seeing some other
God.
hot takes. The chat's fired up. So
Oh yeah?
should be a pretty good show. I'll keep an eye on the YouTube chat and the premium Slack as well. I guess we'll just talk about promo code really quick. Promo code NHL Strategy is how you get 50% off your first week of any Awesemo Plus weekly pass. You can get in that premium Slack chat. For today, we do have the live blog free. You can just go to the NHL tab. I don't have it pulled up right now, but you can just go to the NHL tab, hover over it with your mouse if you're on a desktop or laptop, and you can see the live blog. We'll have news and notes leading up until lock and anything that's important that you guys need to react to prior to lock, sometimes after lock. That's going to be the place to get it, or in the premium Slack. So those are your two places to get news. And news has been it's very helpful in NHL DFS. People think it's not as news intensive, but sometimes you get some of these slates. There's a lot to balance in the prior half hour before lock, and we've got a bunch of 7 Eastern games, 7:30 Eastern game as well. So half the slate locks at 7. It'll be a good one. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports is the sponsor. My Yahoo lineup did not work out well last night, but I'm sure I'll fire another one up here tonight. Promo code Awesemo is how you get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points when you do sign up over on Yahoo. Helps us out, helps you out, gives you some free cash to play DFS over there. And then they've got golf, they've got NBA contests. I'm sure Nolan's going to be playing some golf over on Yahoo, probably everywhere, right?
Man, oh man, I tell you what, I certainly will be. There's a millie maker for the players this week.
Yeah, and Yahoo also tossing out some pretty good contests, 2K to first, and they're $15. Some huge tournaments elsewhere. Great chance to get over and use promo code The Approach to get a $4.95 PGA weekly pass for this week's tournament. So that's another promo we've got going on. Check your email if you're subscribed. Or you even have an account on Awesemo, you'll see more details about it there. And you can add on Fantasy Cruncher if you want to use it this week. If you're multi-entering, you can add it on for a little bit of an additional charge, but still a really good deal. You're getting a big discount with promo code The Approach. How did last night go for you?
Not super good, Jake. Not super good.
Not enough Cody Eakin apparently. So
Did
Cliffy
I
was
just give up
dogging
on the
him
slate? I don't know. Did he go am?
I think he was on the. Let's see. I think he was on this guy's winning lineup. So this user's won twice now. I think in the last week, and Eakin was in the nut lineup. So it was Eakin, Ehlers, 2-man, Carlson, Marchessault, Pacioretty, Shea Theodore. Right. Just what a goat Shea Theodore is. OT goal,
Good
gets the double
God.
bonus. I mean, he's like this guy. He's just amazing. 6K underpriced by like at least 3 or 4K. I think last night he should have been about 10K. Some of these nights, this guy's incredible, and people don't play him enough. He was under 10% owned. He was on the winning lineup. It was a pretty good one. And then Ben Hutton, who ended up being 7.7% owned. I mean, we mentioned him as a punt. I think me and Cliffy did, but I didn't see him being that highly owned, and he did really well, 17.9 points. So. Nice lineup here. Skinner one-off, just your classic 3-2-1 with some power play stacking going on. Really a 4-2-1 for this user. Nice job taking down the $10. I was able to sneak into second. Ben Hutton couldn't ultimately overcome Ben Hutton last night, so he got me by about 9 points. So couldn't really complain. My best lineup. Also did have Cody Eakin. I'm lagging here a little bit, but Stastny, Marchessault, Pacioretty, Matt Roy, just 2.8 points. If I put Hutton in there, I'm probably counting some more money tonight. Theodore, of course, Will Karlsson. This was actually a full power play stack here with an Eakin Ehlers 2-man. So I did like a 5-2-1 getting ready for MLB season. And then Hellebuck in that. He was one of the higher scoring goalies. So got pretty fortunate there. Other tournaments that happened last night. Let's look at the icebreaker. 295, 50K prize pool, and one-man Wolfpack. Took it down, cashed 3 out of 5 entries. Low scoring slate, only 136.6. And the winning score is usually lower in these lower entry tournaments, or low total entries, higher dollar tournaments like this. But was able to get it done with Buffalo 1 busting pretty hard here. So Eichel, Skinner, Reinhart. Eichel was fine, 15.8 points, but nothing special. Skinner and Reinhart only combined for 6 points total, but the rest of the lineup is just the nuts here. Vegas power play with Theodore, Ben Hutton, Hellebuck. So you needed Vegas, and if you didn't have them last night, you were probably not winning anything. All right. I think that's good. Let's get to the 8-game slate for tonight. Let's start with Tampa Bay and Toronto. 3.4 implied total for the Lightning. 3.2 for the Maple Leafs. Andrei Vasilevsky and Freddie Anderson are your goalies. Do we see anything new elsewhere?
Yeah, new lines for both these teams. Looks like Nylander up on the top line with Matthews and Hyman. Tavares between Marner and Kapanen, Kerfoot with Mulligan and Engvall, as well. Morgan Riley expected to return tonight. And then on the Tampa Bay side of things, we have Chiarelli up on the top line with Killorn and Kucherov. Point down between Coleman and Palat. Johnson, Gord, Stevens. Pretty messed up power plays on the Tampa Bay side. It looks like only Killorn and Kucherov would be the only correlation there. And Hedman as well out tonight. So bump up Sergachev a little bit. He's going to take over the top power play rank or top power play spot, and probably get some extra ice time. But he's been there for a couple of games now. But
this game's worrying me a little bit because I don't really love it. One of the higher total games, bunch of talent on both sides. I'm a little unsure about what to do on the Tampa side with these blended lines, like people are alluding to in the chat and what you just went over, Nolan. And then you've got some blending going on for Toronto as well, just a team kind of struggling right now. Been an up and down season for them, and now they're going Matthews, Nylander, and Zach Hyman. And apparently these guys haven't really played much since 2017. I thought they played a ton together last year, but apparently they didn't.
It's always like Tavares, Marner, Hyman, right, last year?
Yeah, so I don't know. I just had it mixed up. But anyways, I like the Tavares Marner combo. I just love those two in there together. Tavares is always quite a bit cheaper than Matthews, and Marner is on the top power play as well. So I like this Tavares line. I'm not entirely sure who they're going to go up against, but with little data on any of these lines, like I know that Tavares and Marner are a really good combo, but with little data on the Tampa lines, it's hard for me to play a bunch of Toronto here. Or Tampa for that matter, even though I like Toronto, I think, better than Tampa if I could only have one of these teams. But looking at the ownership here, I'm not really getting to anything over the field. So worrisome because it's a game that with a high total that could certainly go off and burn me. But I'm probably not winning too much if this game has 7 or 8 goals total because there's a lot of ownership and I'm really not going to be there. I do like some of the other spots that are a little less popular.
It's good to know. I was kind of because Toronto 1 seems to be one of our highest projected lines on the night and one of our top stacks. But you're on the fade side of things, hey?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm hand building for sure, I don't think I get to this game even like 1 to 3 lineups. Like a lot of what I have ranked as my best lineups don't include much from this game. So. Yeah, I would be more towards the fade side, but playing 150 lineups, I'm going to get some of this, specifically that Toronto second line, and then a little bit of the power play stack, I would think here for Toronto. I didn't realize how many penalties Tampa's taken this season. Don't really think of them as a team that takes a bunch, but on the season they are third in time shorthanded, trailing only the Carolina Hurricanes and the Washington Caps. So was surprised to see that. I don't know if they've snuck up there recently or what, but
Number one since January too. 6
yeah,
minutes 50 seconds per game.
yeah. So that's pretty bad. I mean, they have a decent kill, but yeah, I just give me the opportunity. So I think the Leafs side could do some damage here. I'm really unsure about what to do on the Tampa side, and it's getting owned, so I'm looking to go elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And like, it's always difficult to quantify like what losing your number one defenseman is going to do to your offense as well. We've seen it in the past where like chalk spots were missing their top guy, and it just kind of affects you in ways you're not really expecting. So I could see them struggling a little bit. They've got mixed up lines, missing Stamkos and Hedman, and it looks like maybe the perception of them as a good team, and then it's probably a little bit higher than what they should be. And then of course you got Morgan Riley coming back for the Leafs, which makes them a little bit better defensively as well. So it's kind of like two sides to this that I think I'm kind of agreeing with you there, though I do like Toronto a little bit more. So I think we're kind of on the same page there.
I like it. Riley's a guy I'm playing some as a one-off, 5,600 for him. It's not a great night for defensemen once again. Like we've got Yossi, and then I don't see
not great spot to pay up, right?
Yeah, and so Riley looks decent to me at 5,600. He's not on the top power play. I guess that could change, but I'm not really counting on it in this game. It'd be more of a one-off thing. He looks okay to me.
Yeah, I worry that his minutes are going to be a little bit down, and like no top power play time. I think one-off is the way to go there for sure.
All right, let's go to. Oh, do you have anything on the Tampa blue line? Sergachev at 5,300.
I think Sergachev one-offs as well. Like I feel like if he's going to get 25 in the 2 games without Hedman, Hedman didn't play against Boston, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
I can't remember.
But or he's been on the power play for 2 games or whatever, and he's gotten 25 and 28 minutes each. So I think you can get some exposure to that offense, and it's a pretty good price point.
It is a pretty good price point for a guy that's probably going to play 25 minutes again. So. He's not my favorite guy, but 5,300, you're probably right. You should probably mix him in.
There's just a lot of guys in that range that you can go to, right? Tyson Berry's right there. Klingberg's 53. Quinn Hughes for 52. Yeah. Slavin for 51. That's the reason to get off him.
Yep, I would agree. And you might see some increased ownership with Tampa having a pretty high total and cheap stacks on their team now. Let's go to Nashville and Montreal. 2.8 implied total for both sides here. UC Saros and Carey Price are your goalies, and it looks like some more blending going on in this game. I see Montreal, brand new lines that we haven't seen in the last couple seasons here. You want to go over those?
Anytime you can break up the number one line in hockey, you got to do it, I guess, right? No, I mean, Tatar, it looks like he is going to be out, and he will miss another one. So they've been messing around a little bit with Lehkonen up there, but looks like Deneau between Army and Byron. I always want to call him Byron. Domi between Gallagher and Hudon, and then Suzuki, Wheel, and Lehkonen. So and like I wanted originally to get to a lot of Montreal here, but especially the Montreal power play, but it's just there's not really much correlation, so it's really tough to get there.
Yeah, and with their balanced units, I understand why someone would want to get off of Montreal. I guess they could go back to the normal-ish lines. Deneau and Gallagher could find their way back together, but the lines look.
Montreal 3 actually has the correlation. It's Suzuki and Wheel on the power play 1. Of course, they mix these units up a little bit, but that might not be a bad spot to go.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like I kind of like all 3 Montreal lines, but definitely my favorite one is the Domi, Gallagher, Hudon line. You can do what you want with Hudon if you want to mix in I don't even know something like Deneau, Domi, Gallagher, or something like that to get 2 guys on the power play with Petrie. But they're just too cheap, and the total is... I know the total's low, but Nashville does have a pretty terrible kill. They take an average amount of penalties as well, and so I'm hoping they can do a little bit of damage on the power play. And I think the Domi-Gallagher line could be pretty good at 5-on-5, and I doubt they get the tough matchup against the Duchesne line. I would guess that goes more to Deneau here.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
The Nashville lines outside of the Duchesne line, I think, are outside of the middle 6 on your screen. So Duchesne, Forsberg, Granlund, that looks like a pretty decent line. And then we know about Nashville 3. They're back listed as the third line. they've been an awesome third line all season. I'm targeting them some here. Don't really have any interest in the Johansson line, which is listed as the top line, but I mean, those are not top. That's not a top line caliber trio, right?
Yeah, and it looks like it's actually like it doesn't. I'm just trying to remember here. I think it looks like it's going a little over owned. It's a good price point though, right? Like I think I don't know. I don't hate it.
For Johansson line?
Oh no, sorry. I thought you were talking about the Granlund line.
Oh yeah. The Grand line's fine. I mean, they have really good numbers actually at 5-on-5. Pretty much everything with Duchesne and Forsberg together has been successful, and then Granlund, pretty good possession player himself, if I recall. But
just take the Bonino line instead of the
right.
Johansson line.
Yeah, I like the Bonino line. It feels like they're always low owned, especially on the road here. I don't love playing third lines on the road on an 8-game slate, but they've just sustained these incredible 5-on-5 numbers that I kind of don't really care. Like I'm doing some 2-mans, doing some like 5-2-1 tonight with full power play stacks, and I'll get to some like Bonino Smith 2-mans in the rest of those kind of lineups type of thing. So I'm always looking to play Nashville 3. I can't believe they're this good at 5-on-5. They should never get split up, but we see coaches do this all the time. What do you think about the blue line here? We got Yossi, Weber, Petrie, Ryan Ellis, one of the chat favorites.
Nice. Yeah, Yossi's not a priority for me. I'm just squeezing him in when I have the ability to get there, just mainly because there isn't a ton of value down low on this slate. You got like Matt Irwin and Dakota Mermis and Christian Juice, maybe.
All the studs.
Like there's not a ton. Like maybe, or I guess Grizzlick as well if you want to go there, though. I'm kind of on the fade side of things. Sorry, Seth. But I noticed Ryan Ellis is kind of popping for us.
Yeah, Ellis. I think Ellis is solid at 6K. Quite a big discount off of Yossi at $1,500 cheaper. So I'm gonna have both of those guys. It's not like a hammer Yossi night for me right now. I'm slightly above where we have him projected for ownership, but with it being like I think the mid tier is really good for stacking tonight. He's just like a little bit too expensive. If he was like $6,800, $6,700, I'd probably get to a ton of Yossi, but that extra $700-800 is at least limiting my exposure a little bit.
Yeah.
And then on the Montreal side, Petrie's my favorite guy. One of my favorite guys in the entire night at 5K. Quarterbacking that top power play unit. And then Shea Weber. You could go to Weber with the Domi line. So I actually like him quite a bit as well. If you believe that maybe they're going to split time, you get Domi and Hudon on that second unit with him.
I agree. I've got a lot of Petrie as well. Or just Petrie one-offs too.
All right, let's go to Pittsburgh and New Jersey. 3.4 implied total for the Pens, 2.6 for the Devils. Matt Murray and Mackenzie Blackwood are your goalies. Looks like everything is pretty much the same here. You got anything?
Yeah, the Pittsburgh 3 changed a little bit because Bukestad is now back to week. Evan Rodriguez is on with McCann and Hornqvist. I don't hate that line too much. Bluger down on the fourth line with Lafferty and Tanev. Looks like Schultz. Is Schultz still on that top power play unit? I forgot to check that. Looks like he is though, hey?
Schultz is on the top power play. They practiced this morning with it. So
there you go. So there's another bargain spot if you need a cheap defenseman tonight. And I think everything's the same on the New Jersey side.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't play Schultz unless I was playing one of the top two Pittsburgh lines tonight. I'm actually not that crazy about Pittsburgh either. So the theme again here is I'm going to play all the bad teams, and then everyone else is going to play the good teams, and then I'm going to lose all the money, it appears. I haven't had good luck with Pitt recently. I just kind of don't believe in their lines that much. Their 5-on-5 lines. I know the power play is...
Are you resigning your position as president of the Brian Rust fan club right now, or what?
Well, yeah, they kicked him off the top power play. And so he's on the second unit now, same unit as Patrick Marleau. Marlowe's on his line at 5-on-5. That line's been, I mean, they're just not going to be good defensively ever. Malkin's usually doesn't have a good defensive line. And, you know, I kind of prefer the Devils side here, but they're getting a ton of ownership. They were one of our most owned lines. Palmieri and Nico and Miles Wood are really cheap. Even though it is a low implied total, that's probably going to be a line that comes in a little bit over-owned, but it still is pretty good value, and they're going to go up against either the Malkin or the Crosby lines, which have both been pretty terrible defensively. So I kind of get the Devils' love. If you wanted to, you could drop down to the second line. I don't know. What about the third line? Is this a Zaka Brat Gusev night?
I don't have any currently, so I don't know. I was gonna wait to see what you had to say about it because like it's a pretty tough matchup, but it's also not going to get much ownership. Still pretty cheap, decent numbers, so I could be talked into a share or two.
Yeah, I think more like a share or two it would be for me as well. So right now I have 4 out of 150, which is perfect. Like it's a third line that I think is pretty good. I'm not sure Pittsburgh is like the best depth to attack. Like this is an Edmonton or something like that, where they should eat them up at 5-on-5. But they're a decent line. They're all in the secondary unit. Don't really care about power play 2 in general, but I'll take a stab at New Jersey 3. Like I'm just having trouble reconciling how much New Jersey I actually want to play here, because the ownership is more aggressive than what I would have thought with just a 2.6 implied total. And especially if I'm not playing a ton of Pitt here, like the only thing I have really right now is, well, I was getting to a ton of Malkin, Rust, Marlowe stacks, but I'm going to temper that. I think if I'm going to Pitt, the majority of my lineups would be some sort of power play stack with Crosby, Zucker, Hornquist, or something along those lines with Schultz.
Makes sense to me. The New Jersey one just going way over owned tonight. Right?
Yeah, I haven't even looked at the top stack tool just yet,
they're the
but
most
I'm assuming
owned line I've seen in a while. Most over owned line I've seen in a while. So I'm happy to fade them. I mean, the price is really good, and I certainly understand why. Miles Wood's a great value. Definitely makes sense that they're over owned, but because they're great value. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I could see why a fade would be in order here.
I don't get how, like, the Malkin line especially has been just brutal defensively. I know the samples are still kind of small, but we've seen them for a number of games now. I don't think they're going to all of a sudden become a defensive juggernaut. And then Crosby hasn't been great defensively this entire season, outside of, I think, when it was like Crosby, Gensel, and Simone. But I don't think they were fantastic defensively either. And him and Zucker together, they haven't been good at 5-on-5 defensively. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of on the not fade Pittsburgh spot, but I don't see a ton of merit in like jamming in Pittsburgh either here. So the two good teams, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, it's going to be a pretty rough night after 4 or 5 goals for those teams in the first period. What about blue liners here? We've got a couple guys. On the Pittsburgh side, it's pretty easy, right? Just Schultz at 3,400. I suppose you could play Letang at 6,600. He's not with Jack Johnson. He's not paired with him. So maybe he's got an actual chance to do something at 5-on-5. But he's $6,600 and not on the top power play here. That makes it difficult for me to play really any Letang. And then I'm going back to Mermis a little bit at 3,400. Just, he's gotten lucky he had 2 assists last game. You can't really count on that. But he does have decent peripherals so far, and he's playing around 20 minutes.
He's shooting and he's getting a couple blocks. So, I don't know. I forgot to look up his minor league stats. I feel like he's 26 and he had 23 points in 53 AHL games this year. So he's about a half point a game player in the AHL. So
he's not great, but
I wouldn't get super excited.
Oh, no, I'm not at all. But he's projected to be he's probably going to be like 1 or 2% owned, just a way to differentiate. Like I said,
I don't know. If you keep touting him every day, he's probably going to get.
I think he was like 2% owned on a 5-game slate, so I don't know how much pull we actually have here on the show. Let's go to Boston and Philadelphia. 2.8 implied total for the Bruins, 2.7 for the Flyers. Tuukka Rask and Carter Hart are your goalies. So this one could be a fun one to watch. I don't know how high scoring it will be. I think the matchups are pretty obvious. And another 2 good teams where I don't know how much I'm going to have here. I'm hearing it's Tuukka Rask's birthday, so you got to fire him up.
That narrative street there.
Yeah,
chat's just firing away today.
Yeah. So outside of just the mortal lock here, Matt Grzelcyk.
I'm not playing him just because I want I want to just throw it in Seth's face when he goose eggs.
Yeah. Jarrett in chat says, I'm shocked at the total in this one. Thought much higher. I mean, we've been talking about Philadelphia recently, just how well they've been playing. I know they're winning a lot of games, but they're just dominating.
Did I say this last time? Number one in Money Puck's model, expected goals for versus expected
Yeah.
goals against odds to win the cup.
Yeah. So they've just been coming on crazy hot lately. They've got this top line, the stacked top line, Couturier, Giroux, Voracek. They're actually coming off a pretty bad game. They got worked a little bit by Buffalo 1. I don't know if they got up earlier, what was the context in that game. But the numbers weren't great for them in that game specifically. I think here it projects to be a pretty low-scoring game. More often than not, they're not going to get out to a huge lead against Boston. And I'm not crossing lines off. I try not to, unless it's a massive slate and I feel like I need to trim down a little bit. But I'm not getting to a lot of these lines organically anyways. I think the one thing that I would be looking at in this game is the Hayes, Konechny, and Farabee line. Now, the power play correlation isn't great because Couturier, Giroux, and Voracek are all in the top power play. But I think they're going to get not a terrible matchup against hopefully the Krejci, Ritchie, and Kasha line, which has struggled so far defensively. So that's kind of my one thing in this game that I'm targeting a little bit of. But I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong here. What do you see?
Yeah, I guess you're getting a little bit of leverage. Like I don't think we have them projected all that well. I'm guessing so.
They don't project that. Yeah, they're not.
Yeah, and they're kind of expensive, so it's a bit of a contrarian flyer play, and probably going to avoid Bergeron. So you can see the logic behind it.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up the numbers for this Couturier, Giroux, Voracek line. Even with that bad game they just had, they've just been incredibly good at 5-on-5. Under 2 goals against per 60. They're a really tough matchup. You're not getting a massive discount on Boston 1, and they're still getting some ownership. And they still come up as under-owned in the top stack tool because they always do. They're just an amazing line. They always project well. But for them to overcome the 5-on-5 matchup against the Couturier line enough to where, they have to be basically the highest scoring stack for them to be in the winning lineup. And then you got to find the third line or really cheap second line that goes off. And probably you're still competing against a bunch of people after that. It's really tough for me to play Boston once again here tonight. And I love Boston 1 as much as anyone, but with what we're seeing tonight in this spot, I can't really get there.
I think that's fair. I mean, I currently have 0 shares, but maybe I'm going to try and force one in. But they're super expensive. So and going up against one of the better defensive centers in the league. So and they're missing their top puck moving defenseman. So it's not a great spot.
Yeah, and I think Grizzly 3,200. We're kidding about him being a lock and stuff. Well, maybe some of us are. I certainly am. 3,200 for him. I probably still, I guess at 3,200 you could make a case for one-offing him if he gets a power play assist or somehow scores a goal. I suppose it could happen, but 3,200, I'm assuming he's going to be more popular than he should be, just for a guy that doesn't really do a ton. You're banking on a multi-assist game, and if I don't love the spot for Boston 1, then I'm probably not going to play a guy who is probably relying on Boston 1, big production out of Boston 1 to be usable tonight. And then on the Flyer side, do you see anything you like? Provorov, Niskanen, Sanheim, Shane Gostisbehere returning after a while?
No. I got one Philly 1 share. That's it.
Yeah. I don't even know if I got to Philly 1. Let me check here. I got to 2 out of 150, so still under the field. They're not getting much ownership, but I'd be okay with 0. They would just be to get to 150th lineup or something like that. Going up against Boston 1, I know I usually give the benefit of the doubt to the home team in this spot, especially because they're cheaper and could they get there on the power play? I suppose, but yeah, just going out of my way to target against Boston 1 is not really my style on an 8-game slate. And same thing for the Philadelphia side. Let's go to Carolina and Detroit. We have a 3.4 implied total for the Canes, 2.2 for the Wings. By the way, I did have these teams. I entered in the totals wrong earlier today, so the projections are updated now. But someone pointed that out to me in Slack, so appreciate that. It is Mrazek, and it's supposed to be Jimmy Howard for the Red Wings. What do we see new here?
New third or second line, whatever you want to call it, for Carolina. Niederreiter's down on the fourth line, Fogle up on the second line with Trocheck and Nichus, Stahl, Williams, McGinn. Williams super hot right now, and then I think that's pretty much it from the Carolina side of things. Detroit looks pretty much the same.
Yeah. And Detroit, it's usually just the top line and move on, and it's going to be the same thing for me here.
Are we finally heating up with Detroit? Like, I feel like it happened last game, in an unexpected spot against Tampa. Morning game? Was that a morning game?
It was the first game. They did like the 5 Eastern lock for whatever reason. But
yeah, I had a dummy lineup, and I just had Palat in my dummy lineup by mistake, and just had 100% goose egg Palat. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, like, big hoping you can talk me down from my Detroit love tonight. But I also think Carolina not getting as much ownership as I thought. So what are you doing with this one?
No, I love Carolina. One, I like the depth lines here. I kind of like the Stahl line. I just feel like they always have great numbers and they're just not great at finishing. So I'm playing some of the Stahl line, definitely more than some other third lines tonight. And then Aho, Svechnikov, Teravainen, like, they're popular, but I agree. I didn't think, like, I thought they would be maybe 20+%, and it doesn't look like that's quite going to be the case tonight. So I'm getting to more Carolina than, Boston, Philadelphia, Tampa, Toronto, teams like that. So I have them at near the top of my list. Aho, Svechnikov, Teravainen, they're all in the top power play. They're an incredible line at 5-on-5. There's a clear defenseman to stack with them in Slavin at 5,100. Yeah, they're probably going to get matched up for the most part against Larkin, Bertuzzi, Mantha. That's not amazing, but that line's actually not as good defensively as I had it in my head when I was looking at it today. They're about average expected goals against per 60 if you look on like Natural Stat Trick. So I think it's a pretty decent spot for both top lines here. I like this game a ton, and the goaltending is questionable, I think, at best on both sides, which always helps, whether it's Bernier or Howard here. I mean, neither of those guys are even good. So love Carolina 1, love Detroit 1, and I'll be playing some of this Stahl line, I think, as well for dirt cheap.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, definitely overweight on Detroit 1. Trying to mix in like the Trocheck line. I feel like that line's going a little under-owned, and then the Stahl line's going a little over-owned comparatively. So I like both of those. But basically, just like the other thing I like about Detroit is if you really want to, if it's Howard, I don't think we know if it's Howard or Bernier yet. But I mean, it's not often you get a $6,900 goalie with and he's going to see a ton of shots, so he could still lose and have a decent game. And you can pair him up with the Detroit top stack, and you get just makes that stack even more affordable. Hronik as well got like 14-15 minutes with them last game. They probably had a lot of power plays, and so that kind of makes a decent stack on that end. And yeah, I agree with what you said about Slavin as well. Like, that's decent price and full power play correlation on that end. So two of my favorite combos tonight.
Yeah, Seth points out the Trocheck Nichus line. I know Cliffy's really high on Netchus as like a prospect or a guy.
Just long term, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe
and Trocheck he should rebound. Like, there's it's a former OHL scoring leader and like point a gamer. He should be better.
Yeah, he just wasn't having a great season, and obviously got traded. So Fogel's not amazing, but neither are Stahl and McGinn, and I'm willing to play those guys. So yeah, I think I just like everything on the Carolina side here. It's really hard not to. So I think that's all we got on this game. Hronik at 4,500, I think a pretty solid play as well.
Why does everybody hate Jake Gardiner?
Because he's not good. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. For
Cliffy
DFS
hates him,
or
and
in
no,
real
I've heard
life?
like multiple people. He leads the NHL in defensemen a minimum 500 minutes and high danger chances for per
Well,
60.
but for defensemen, you're not really looking for high danger chances, right?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
how? I don't
He's
know.
pretty good in scoring chances for too.
Could that be just a
Like
fluky thing, or I mean, maybe he's
I don't
just
know. And
more
I
willing
looked
to
up his
jump into the
offensive
play?
zone starts, and he's like 50th in offensive zone starts. It's not a matter of deployment. It also could be like he's getting. I mean, he's not getting a lot of ice time on top lines, but maybe he's getting paired up against weaker competition. But he just seems like one of these guys that the numbers always say is better than he is, and everyone always talks about how bad he is. But I don't know. Leafs fans will probably disagree and
No,
call me an
Leafs
idiot.
fans
But
don't like him. I mean,
yeah, they hate him.
I don't know. I don't know what the Carolina thing is, but um, I for
He's just
DFS
cheap, and
he's not terrible. I
yeah,
mean, he's not great, obviously, but um,
I'd rather go Christian Juice tonight at that price point, but
yeah,
and he also just doesn't pair up well with the top line. Like he only gets about 2 minutes with the other of those lines every game. So
yeah. There's your Jake Gardner discussion for the year. $2,900 for him.
ask Cliffy next time. Tell him
I'll
to
ask him about
explain
Gardner.
why.
Yeah, I'll ask him.
All right.
Aaron is correct in chat. Before we move on to the next game, if you guys could hit the like button, that helps us out a ton. As you know, I could give you the spiel, but you guys probably
Thanks, Aaron.
know it by now.
And if you
So
wouldn't
thanks
mind
for the
heading over
reminder.
to iTunes and giving us a podcast rating, if you haven't done it, you will be entered into win a weekly draw as well. We're going to start doing weekly prizes, free
Nice.
week giveaways. So
Yeah, you can just search
appreciate that.
awesemo.com on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen, Castbox, Stitcher. There's an endless list. We're basically on everything where you listen to podcasts, whether it's Android or whatever. Let's go to the New York Rangers and the Dallas Stars. 2.5 implied total for the Rangers. 3 for the Stars. Shesterkin and Ben Bishop are in net. Shesterkin coming off kind of his first hiccup in his NHL career. He'd been amazing, and then kind of got blown up in his last start. But what do we see here? Anything new?
Yeah, new lines for the Stars. Again, Rick Bowness shuffling. Corey Perry back up on top. They shuffled last game too. So kind of like this Dallas Stars second line actually is where I'm going a little bit over the field tonight. Rupe Hintz, Joe Pavelski, Dennis Gurianov, Radulov still out. And then I think everything else is pretty much the same there. Everything looks the same on the Rangers side too.
Yeah, not much on the Rangers side. I really like. I know we're all in love with Zibanejad, and rightfully so. He's playing amazing. 5-goal game last week. I'm a little worried about how poor the Zibanejad line in total has been at 5-on-5 with DiGiuseppe. Kreider not being there does hurt them for sure. Like I could see going to the Strome line, but this game is all at the Dallas side for me. So kind of throwing it back to last year when I just hammered Dallas every slate. I think there's a lot to like. Specifically the top 2 lines, and so I like Sagan, Ben, and Perry, and I like the power play stack for the Stars, but I think we might see the Dallas 2 line get some time against Edel and Howden and like Rangers 4 because they're gonna probably use the Faxa line some against Zibanejad, and probably Panarin, and then Sagan line they're gonna kind of get next in line for ice time, Sagan and Ben, and that leaves Pavelski, Hintz, and Gurianov, who they probably won't play a ton of minutes tonight, but top power play for Pavelski and Gurianov. And then if they get to go up against this Rangers third line, like I don't know if there's really a better matchup in hockey. So I love dropping down to Dallas 2 here, and really everything Dallas. So I think this is a great spot to do a full power play stack. I don't think Dallas is very lethal on the power play. In fact, I don't think they're very, very good at all. They're middle of the pack actually in just like success rate this season. But the Rangers do take a ton of penalties. As we know, they don't kill them off with a ton of success. And there's 2 lines I like here. So, yeah, I'm going to be playing a bunch of Klingberg and Hiskinen tonight. It's kind of ugly. It's kind of dirty. But this is, I think, one of the best spots of the night. Maybe Shesterkin is going to be awesome, go back to his awesome ways. But the Rangers are still giving up a lot of chances.
Yeah, like where your head's at there. I'm glad we're in agreement on that Dallas 2 line, not getting any ownership as well. So good stacking option tonight and pretty cheap. And you're, bang on with the Rangers since January 1st. They're dead last in expected goals against on the penalty kill. And they are 3rd worst in scoring chances against per 60. So lot to like about the Dallas Stars tonight. Fire off some interesting combos. I don't know. Attack the power play one, some power play one stacks. Heskinen, great value as well.
Yeah.
And like you can get unique. I don't know what his ownership's going to be like, but
Hiskinen?
Yeah.
Let's see. He's probably going to
Take a look.
Yeah, he's double digits right now.
So maybe you I almost wouldn't. Maybe rather go to Klingberg at that point. His ice time's been up lately. Power play one, right? So
yeah, Klingberg hasn't been terrible, but there's just not enough defensemen for me to justify getting off of Klingberg here, especially in multi-entry when I'm playing these Dallas top two lines.
Are you playing Corey Perry with?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. So I will be playing probably Perry with a lot of Seguin and Ben, but been trying to mix in more power play stacks, especially where it makes sense. And I think here it does make a ton of sense. So he would be the guy you leave off, right? You'd go Seguin Ben and Gurionov, Seguin Ben, Pavelski, something like that. And you could full power play stack it or 4-man and leave someone off. But not a guy I think you need. It's not like, Seguin and Ben are 7,500 each and you need the salary relief and you throw in Perry at low ownership. He's going to get some ownership as well. So probably would be the first guy I would look to leave off if you could. I think Nolan froze there for just a second. Are you back?
Am I back?
Yeah, I think you're back. All right. Anything on the Rangers side? Defensemen, forwards, anything here?
Not getting to much, man, but maybe it's a good contrarian play tonight. I don't know. I was thinking about it. They're at least they're hot. It's a pretty tough matchup on the road, but not much ownership. I mean, straight up contrarian play, I guess.
Yeah, it would just be contrarian for me. Strome, Panarin, and Jesper Fast have good 5-on-5 numbers. Maybe they don't see a ton of time against the Faxa line, and I don't know, man. It's just not anywhere near a priority spot for me for this Rangers team. So, I don't even want to mention much more because I don't think I'm going to play a ton of them. Adam Fox at 4,600, coming off a big game. I think I will have a little bit of him again. Just tough slate to try to pick and choose defensemen. He's one that I feel okay about at 4,600 as a one-off kind of guy. And then we mentioned the two guys I think we're targeting on the Dallas side. Let's go to the Islanders and the Canucks.
You got it.
Islanders, Canucks, last couple games here, and then we'll get out. 2.6 implied total for the Isles, 2.9 for the Canucks. Varlamov and Demko are your goalies. What do we see here?
You have to talk me off Van two tonight here, Jay. Best with the skating on line with Horvat and Pearson. Louis Eriksson drops down to the fourth line. Tyler Mock leaves the lineup. And then the Islanders are all, or actually I don't know if they're the same, but they have some newish looking lines. So it's Nelson between Bailey and Ladd, and Bovia drops down with Peugeot and Konov. Brassard centering the fourth line with Clutterbuck and Matt Martin. So love the Vancouver Canucks power play stack tonight.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was thinking why isn't Besser out in the top power play? But who are you going to kick off? Toffoli, Miller, I don't know. That line's playing so well, and they probably just want to stick them together as much as possible. So I don't know that the matchup for the Pettersson, Miller, Toffoli line is that great. I wish they would get stuck on the Barzal line here, and I think then you would have the better spot. Nelson, Ladd, and Bailey actually have decent numbers defensively. I still believe in Vancouver too. But I thought, looking at this slate earlier today, they might be one of my highest exposed lines. It's not going to be the case. When I looked into the matchup a little bit more, and maybe I'm just dead wrong, but
nah, it's fair. For me, it was just more of a power play thing. The last 20 games or whatever, the Islanders have just been abysmal on the power play. They were ranked dead last in scoring chances against and high danger chances against. That was my rationale, kind of stacking them up and pairing them together.
No, I like Vancouver. Don't get me wrong. I just thought that I was going to be head over heels in love with Vancouver too once I got through everything. Yeah. And it's, I'm still over on them. But it's not like I'm going to have, 40% Vancouver 2 or something like that. That's not really my play style anyways. But I am, with Besser back especially, I am pretty excited about the top line here. Horvat, Besser, and Pearson. Again, the one bad thing is just that Besser's not on the top power play. But you could go Horvat, Besser, and Miller or Toffoli or something like that if you wanted to get more exposure to that top power play you're talking about. They'll get a pretty good matchup against Barzal, Lee, and Eberle, who are very good offensively, not great defensively, and you would expect Horvat to get that hard match. So I like Vancouver 1 as well. On the other side, you could go to Islanders 1 here, but that's really about it. I don't really have much I love on the Islanders side. You see anything?
No, not getting to much Islanders though. Yeah, like I could make the case with Demko and net. You can kind of make the case for Isles 1. I think as an under-owned stack tonight.
Isles 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we don't have a big sample with Besser and Horvat together, so maybe they're not going to be as solid. But I can't imagine Besser's going to be much worse defensively than like Virtanen.
Sub 5% ownership.
Yeah. No, you're probably right on that. What am I looking for here? I'm looking for Brock Nelson with Bailey and Ladd. Do we have numbers on them? I don't see anything. I
can get numbers on them.
Yeah, because I think, now that I'm thinking of it, I think it was Nelson, Beauvillier, and Bailey who had the really good numbers. I want to see how they are with Ladd.
Ladd probably has no... Sorry, Ladd probably has nothing. He just hasn't played much, right?
Okay.
You mean like way back? You mean back to last year?
Yeah, maybe like back to last year. I can't remember how they were defensively, but because that could change some things. I might have to up my Vancouver too after all that.
Nelson Bailey, is that the line?
Nelson Bailey and Ladd. Yeah.
1.47 expected goals against per 60.
How many minutes?
36.8.
Okay. Yeah, a little too tough to tell, but okay, I'll have to look into that, and I'll pop in Slack if I.
Also, is Ladd the same player? Like,
no.
I feel like he's probably.
He's garbage.
Yeah.
Quinn Hughes, I'm assuming you're targeting at 5,200, right?
Yeah, just using him in a lot of power play stacks.
Yeah.
Definitely, like almost every Vancouver 1 or Vancouver 2 stack I have has Hughes in.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Brock Besser's 3K on FanDuel. I saw. So playing over there. Just be aware of that.
How would you approach that? Like, let's say, like what ownership? Like, would you try to match the field? What would you do in that scenario?
I would still be looking to stack him because he's not in the top power play. But
you wouldn't.
I wouldn't like people were talking about one-offing him in every lineup. Like, I wouldn't do that. Yeah. I don't think that's necessary.
I think like if it was a defenseman, like we saw that with Yandel a couple years, like and those occasionally pop up. Seems like more on FanDuel than DraftKings these days. But I think if it's a defenseman, it's safer, right?
Yeah. They just don't score it. Like, you're gonna probably need a ton of forwards to do well in your lineup, and like if it's Besser,
like if he goose eggs, well, bam, you've just got a huge edge on 40-50% of the field that's rostering him.
Or even scores like 6 points. Like, he's probably not gonna be in the winning lineup unless it's just a cash lineup or something like that. But none of the defensemen really stick out as one-off plays in this game for me. Maybe some Ryan Pulock at 5,500. I keep talking about how bad of a slate it is for defensemen. So this is a guy who actually has, multi-point upside. He has a huge shot and gets some secondary power play time. Anything else here?
No.
All right, premier game on the slate to close it out. Once again, if you guys could drop a like, that would be very much appreciated. Before we get out of here, before we talk about the best game on the slate here. 2.7 implied total for the Sens, 2.9 for the Ducks. Could be Marcus Hogberg. I saw he's going to suit up. I don't know if it's going to be him or Craig Anderson for Ottawa. Anyways, I would just put in the higher price goalie on your respective site and crunch that way, and then just swap down if you need to, if they are different prices. But anyways, it's going to be probably Miller for the Ducks. Could be Anthony Stolarz. I know they called him up. It appears Gibson's not going to be ready, and it is a back-to-back situation. So uncertain on both of the goalies here. What about line combos?
Looks like everything's pretty much the same here. Yeah.
Do you see White, Kachuk, and Ryan? Because I didn't see that before the show.
No, I think that might be new.
Yeah, let me see. I because before the show I was seeing Tierney with Brown and Kachuk. It wouldn't change a ton for me. I still want the Kachuk line, but
Wait, no, it was White Kachuk Ryan last game.
was it?
Yeah.
Did they skate today? Because they're pretty good about tweeting out the lines.
Yeah.
I'll just do a quick.
I can take a look.
Okay.
Well, I'll look it up and you talk about what you like here.
Sure. So immediately it was Anaheim 2, as everyone is typing in chat right now. They're usually going up against opposing top competition. It's been a pretty strong line. Getzlaff line has been actually pretty strong as well. I don't know if it's a weak opponent type of thing where it's just a few games, but they are all on the top power play. So the top 6 looks okay for the Duck side. The ownership on Anaheim 2 is actually a little bit, I think, too high. They've been better lately, but it's not like they have fantastic numbers at 5-on-5 in terms of generating scoring chances. They're actually below average in expected goals for per 60. And probably going to get the Kachuk line. That's not like a walk in the park type of matchup or anything like that. Especially if, well, actually, I think Tierney, Brown, and Kachuk is pretty bad defensively. But did you see anything on Ottawa lines? Can you confirm?
Yeah, no morning skate this morning. They skated yesterday, so.
What did they skate with yesterday? Was it this?
They didn't post the lines either, but I think it's the same.
Okay. Did they win last game? Sorry, I'm kind of asking you a ton of questions here. But
I think they did. Did they barely lose? No, they had won. They beat the Sharks.
Okay. So I think more likely that they stick with what they went with last time. So
yeah, they won 4 of 5 too. So
yeah, I want wherever Kachuk is going, just pretty much always. I wish Brown and Tierney were with Kachuk, and you could probably still stack it like that and just replace Kachuk, or replace Balsairs with Kachuk or some sort of Ottawa top power play stack. But yeah, I'm just gonna have a ton of Kachuk. Playing with Bobby Ryan at 5-on-5 isn't a bad deal either. And if you get Colin White at 3,200 with him, that's also a pretty solid way to go. So now that I'm thinking about this on the fly, what I might do is put Tierney, Brown, and Kachuk together, and then play some Ottawa, and then just swap away, like swap down to White and swap down to Ryan if you're comfortable leaving salary on the table. That way you're not going to get you'll be able to figure out the lines one way or the other, because I just want the Kachuk line in general.
Makes total sense.
And then I just think, looking at the difference in the ownership here, the Henrique line compared to the Silfverberg line, the Henrique line compared to the Getzlaff line, I think I'm going to take some chances on the Getzlaff line. I know
still going more over owned though, according to our projections.
Are they really?
Well, so it's 2% chance of being a top 2 stack compared to 6% ownership, 9% to 12. So it's kind of a 6 and 1.
Yeah, fair enough. I
get what you're saying though. It's also about $4,000 cheaper as well. So that's
right,
part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good spot for Anaheim for sure. But if everyone's looking to jump on to Anaheim 2, there's been a lot of talk, so maybe they're even higher owned than what we have.
Yeah.
I don't think there's that big of a difference. They're the line everyone prefers, but ownership's a thing and price is a thing. And they're also probably going to get the Kachuk line, like I said, which I don't know. I'd rather avoid if I could and play against Duclair and all these other guys that Ottawa has that are really terrible defensively. What about defensemen in this game? We've got a couple of our boys here on the Duck side, and then is it a Shabbat?
Yeah. It looks like Shabbat projects out pretty darn well for us, as per usual. I don't know, I've been playing a little Zaitsev as well lately, though haven't checked his numbers lately, but he seems to be getting a ton of ice time, which leads to him not being a bad play. Hampus Lindholm out again. Good Branson's on the DL, so Matt Irwin, I think, still a bargain a little bit at 3,700. I'm not worrying about power play stacking or anything like that with Del Zotto. I don't know what the hell's going on with those power play units. So I like Matt Irwin, and that's about it. And I'll take him every day of the week over Dakota Mermis.
Fair enough. Irwin's a good play at 3,700. Just blocking a ton of shots. Ottawa doesn't have a ton of trouble generating chances offensively, so I think that the opportunity is going to be there for blocks, and Irwin's going to see 20 plus minutes. I think he saw like 25 in a game recently, so like there's like real legit upside. If he tosses in an assist or something, you get in there, even better for $3,700. So I like the call on Irwin quite a bit tonight, and then Shabbat at 5,600. I'm just gonna have a bunch of Shabbat because he's 5,600. He's gonna play 22, 25 minutes. He's played 30 minutes recently in some games, but his minutes kind of jump around, and I kind of just don't believe in this Ducks team, and it could be Stolarz and net too, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, that is true. Wait, that would probably be a bit of a game changer.
Yeah, I haven't seen a ton of line movement, which I don't look at line movement much, but I haven't heard anything about the Ducks goalie, not like a lean or anything. So we might find out after lock, and I'll try to jam in as much Ottawa as I can if it ends up being Stolarz, because that would probably bump up the Ottawa total a little bit as well.
I wonder, like, have you heard anything about that, or is it just
Stolarz? I just saw on Left Wing Walk that Stolarz was the guy they had as projected earlier in the day. Maybe it's changed. Maybe they are leaning towards Miller.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't think we're probably not gonna hear anything. That's for sure.
That's all right. I guess it did open at a 5.5 total, and now it looks like it's closer to 6 somewhere, or at least over on 5.5. So we'll see. I hope it is Stolarz for all my Kachuk, Shabbat, Colin White, Connor Brown power play stacks with Duclair in there. I actually think you could full power play stack Ottawa here if you wanted to get weird in the late night hammer. Same thing on the Anaheim side, but it's less fun to talk about because they're going to be higher owned. I think we have Kachuk at under 5%, so that's going to be my 5% Hattie, by the way, as we transition on out of here.
Who is it?
Kachuk.
5% Hattie, eh?
I think he's still projected under 5. Let's see what he's at. He's not under 5 now. All right, I'll pick a new one.
Ducks didn't skate this morning, so we won't have any idea.
Matt Irwin's under 5%.
Braden Point, Sidney Crosby, Elias Pettersson.
So I like. I was looking at Pettersson's line mate there.
JT. That's a good
Toffoli.
one. Okay, you take Toffoli. I'll take JT.
All right, there we go. So after all that Vancouver 2 talk, I got Toffoli. You got JT Miller. We're colluding to try to get that Vancouver 2 hat trick, and we'll split the profits. If you guys could drop a like, that would be very much appreciated on your way out. Also, go review us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. Tell us something you like about the show, or just like about Awesemo.com. It doesn't have to necessarily be about our show. The reviews really do help us continue to try to build and provide more free content for you guys. Shout out to Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports for sponsoring the show. Use promo code Awesemo to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. I see people are coming for me on the leaderboards. Tonight might be your night. I had a pretty good one last night, so you got it, Willie K272. I'll see you up there at the top. Anything else before we head out?
I think that's it.
All right. Good luck tonight, guys. I think we've got a pretty good slate tomorrow, so it'll be at least me. We'll see. I'll talk to Nolan after the show. He's got real life stuff to do and work on the site, so we'll see if he jumps on as well. But we'll review you guys' winning lineups and do it all again tomorrow.